Hi everyone, it's Jerry. This is video 4 from the Beginner to Chess Master playlist, which is a progressive series of videos. And I like to discuss the types of files in chess. There are 3 files in chess to be familiar with. And do know that this is an important topic. I would not be covering it if it wasn't. Being familiar with certain chess terms, the types of files in the game, is going to be quite useful to us. Having a good internal dialogue in a chess game is very important. The things you think about during the course of a game, in other words, is important. Being able to describe your opponent's play well, being able to describe your own moves well, will be quite insightful to you and often will help you to know what ought to be done in a chess game. So let's move forward here. Let's see what I'm referring to when I say there are 3 file types. I'll be sharing that with you, providing some definitions and some examples to go along with it. So the first file type is a closed file. A closed file, by definition, is one that contains one or more white pawns and one or more black pawns. And so by that definition, what we can observe here is that the start of a chess game contains all closed files. Each file here has one or more white pawns and one or more black pawns. Okay, let's look at a position that's not so familiar, something other than the start of a chess game. This one here. This is an example of a position where we have all closed files. Again, a file containing one or more white pawns and one or more black pawns. You'll notice I'm not looking at all at the other pieces, the knights, the bishops, the king, the rooks. We look at the pawns and the pawns alone in order to determine the file type. So you might as well envision this position here as if there are no pieces and it is stripped to pawns and pawns alone. This again is an instance of all closed files. Let's have a look at some open files, a position that contains open files. What are open files? Well, that's the simplest of the 3 to define. An open file is a file that has no pawns. Okay, so we have the C file and the G file as open files. All the other files in this position are closed, containing one or more white pawns and one or more black pawns. And lastly, we have half open files. Let's see what I'm referring to with that. Now, we could actually break this part up into 2. When I say half open, it's really there are files that are half open for white or half open for black. In this position, the C file is considered half open for white because there are no white pawns, but one or more black pawns. And the E file is considered half open for black. No black pawns, but one or more white pawns. Okay? All other files in this position are closed. Now, just as a close, I'd like to simply go through a game, not a full game, but just 14 moves into some game here, and pay close attention to pawn breaks. What do I mean by pawn breaks? That's just a fancy way of saying a pawn is captured or is doing some type of capture. Like in this position here, black's next move, E takes D. Whenever pawns make captures or whenever a pawn is captured, files can change. Okay, with the black's last move, we can now say that this E file is what type of file? Half open for black. And we could already say, actually, the D file here is half open for white. No white pawns, but one or more black pawns. We have knight takes pawn, so half open for white, half open for black. Moving forward some, when do we have another pawn capture? Right here. Whenever there are pawn captures, files change. We now have the B file as half open for black. Getting some more moves in here after E takes D. This is an instance of an open file, and after that recapture, well, this position right here for just the moment is half open for black, but after this capture here, it's half open for white. So this final position, let's just get a few more moves in here. This final position, we have a mix of all three file types. We have all closed files here. Let's see, the A file is closed, the C file, F, G, and H. Those are all closed files. Open files, there's only one of them. The E file is opened, and half open files. Half open file for white is the D file. Half open file for black is the B file. Now, why exactly is this so important? This is going to be helpful to us, in particular for rooks. Pieces that function well on open files are the rooks. And if you have a half open file, such as this one here, this is a good spot for a white rook, just as this file here is a good spot for a black rook. If you can recall from video 2, where I spoke of piece mobility, we saw that on an open chessboard, no matter where the rook was, his maximum number of moves is 14. Well, we would like to have our pieces maximized. This is a way to do that for the rooks, recognizing the file types. Rooks do well on open files and half open files, or maybe better stated, if you don't have any pawns on a particular file, that's certainly a file to look into, and placing your rook on there is often quite good. Sometimes even the queen as well will function well on the file, but sometimes she has to be a bit cautious of being attacked by an opposing rook. But just a quick recap here. Again, this is the main focus. These three file types is all. We started out having a look at all closed files. We have an instance of some open files here, the C file and the G file. If you can envision a white rook on A1, these would be wonderful spots to go to C1 or G1, and similarly for black, getting on these squares. You have a lot of different choices. And lastly, we saw an instance of half open files. This one here being half open file for white, and this one here being a half open file for black. So this is as far as I want to go. We'll see how exactly this ties in ensuing videos. And as always, I hope you got something out of it, and I will catch you in video 5. Take care. Bye.